Hey guys, it's Greg. So I just wanted to make a quick video talking about GreenSlugg and talking about where this ministry has come, how far it's come along in the past few years, and where I want to go with this ministry. And my purpose in doing this is to try to raise support. Some of you have supported me by sharing my videos and stuff like that. Right now on Patreon, however, I have one supporter, and I'm getting $4 a month, and that's great. Um, but I'm hoping to gain more support and just let my fans, let my viewers know what I've done so far with this ministry and where I plan to go with it in the future. Um, so for those of you who aren't familiar with my channel, what I do primarily is Christian apologetics. So people ask questions like, how can you believe in the Bible? How can you believe the Bible? How can you believe that being a scientific and rational person? And how can you believe the Bible in this scientific and rational age? And I actually have 2 science degrees, so this is something that I really like to talk about. I've studied the Bible a lot, I've studied science a lot, and I've also studied what people have said about science in the Bible. And I really don't think there is much in conflict as people think. Historically speaking, the first scientists were almost all Christians. And the reason for that is, and secular historians will agree on this fact, is that Christian philosophy said, well, since God is rational, logical, and unchanging, we'd expect the laws of nature to be rational, logical, and unchanging as well. And so we expect to be able to understand the universe based on unchanging laws and unchanging principles. And there was really no reason to believe that if you had a pagan universe that operated by magical mechanisms. But because Christianity rejected magic and also said, hey, we think God is logical and rational, that's where this idea that you could study the universe systematically in the context of modern science came from. Now, it's not to say that people before the Christian era were stupid. Obviously they had medicine. They were able to build great megastructures like the pyramids and things like that. But they didn't have what we would consider modern science. And I can talk a lot more about that in other videos, and I have. But for those of you who aren't familiar with my channel and who are maybe want to see more of what I'm about, feel free to check out some of my other videos. But anyway, my purpose today is to try to gain support, try to gain more people supporting me on Patreon. And so what I want to do first is run through some of my stats and tell you what this ministry has accomplished, what I've been able to do in the past 8 years, and try to show you that this ministry is worth it. I mean, you have so many people on TV who are, asking for money, begging for money, and saying, oh, well, if you don't support our ministry, we're going to go off the air. Meanwhile, their hair probably costs more than our house. It's like, so let them go off the air. But for those of you who really care about spreading the gospel and spreading Christian thought and answering the questions that especially the genuine questions that genuine unbelievers will have, and even that believers will have, this ministry I think is going to be right for you. So my last video, these stats are as of 19th of April 2018, which is today, the day I'm recording this video. Whether I'll get it published today or not, I don't know. But my last video was called University Discrimination, and you can watch that video. It dealt with a rather heavy topic, and it dealt with things on kind of a personal level, so I'm not going to, rehash that. That video had 180 views, and I actually had that video edited by a professional editor. I had it filmed by professional videographers as well. So that particular video cost a little bit of money, and I'll tell you how much in a little while. But each day I get well over 2,000 views on YouTube. 2,000 views is not bad, and these views are all over the world. God of Wonders is the most popular video, and I didn't make that video myself personally. However, I did a lot of playing with the keywords and playing with sending it out to different places. And so being able to get that video promoted did take a little bit of work, but I'm really happy with what's going on with it. The most popular version of the God of Wonders video is God of Wonders English with English subtitles. So what you have is you have people all over the world watching this video talking about the Christian God so that they can learn English. You see this a lot in the United States, you see it a lot in Japan. Japan is one of the places where I've been very amazed and very blessed to have that kind of audience, because Japan is called the missionaries' graveyard. Not because Christians are physically persecuted in Japan, just because the culture, the way people think, is so different that you have to explain the gospel in a particular way. Well, I think that's a little beyond the scope of this video, but needless to say, that video is doing amazing in Japan, where missionaries have gone and spent their whole life there and just been absolutely depressed, feeling like it was an absolute failure. And like I said, I've done a lot to spread these videos. The Arabic version of this video has gotten 865 views. So my videos are watched in every country in the world, including North Korea, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But you want to reach people who speak Arabic, you want to reach people in the Muslim world. This ministry that I have going is definitely doing that. Like I said, people are watching this to learn English and receive the gospel. As of March of 2018, so last month. Yeah, sorry guys, I actually look at dates all day on paperwork, so sometimes I have to rethink about what month it is. In March of 2018, I had 67,849 views on my channel. So let's round this up. That's almost 70,000 views. This is something that people from 100 years ago could have only dreamed of. And I'm not having to rent a boat or rent a plane to go to foreign places. Google and YouTube and the internet are bringing this stuff straight to people, and it's an amazing blessing to have this. The lifetime views on my channel are 3,592,535 views. So just over 3.5 million views in the lifetime on my channel. That's a lot. That's a lot. I mean, if you had told me that I was going to be getting millions of people watching my YouTube videos, I would have felt blessed by the idea. I would have thought that that was a fantasy, and I really wouldn't have believed it. I would have just smiled and gone to bed thinking someday in the distant future this will happen. Kind of like someday you'll be a rock star or whatever. I mean, can you imagine somebody telling young Michael Jordan, what his future was going to be like? That's how I feel. One of my videos that I made personally, just so you guys know I'm not just piggybacking off God of Wonders, one of my videos is called Mathematical Odds on the Origin of Life. It has 14,536 lifetime views on there. So people are able to see, okay, what is the mathematical odds that you could get a living thing formed by chance? And I go into the math of that, and the video, I'll say it was one of my first videos. The production quality is not very high, but the logic there is very clear and very well done. Another one of my videos is how natural selection works, and that one has about the same amount. It's 14,511 views, and I think I actually made how natural selection works first, but I could be wrong. And so this video just explained natural selection, explains how it works. And that's the topic I talk about a lot in my videos, and I explained that how natural selection and evolution are not the same thing. A lot of people say, well, because you have mutation and natural selection, and you see that in species change, well, since species change, since you can go from a wolf to a poodle, that proves that you can go from microbes to people. And the logic there is extremely unscientific, and it's a really propaganda what's being told to our high school students. Like even there's even evolutionary biologists who will point out the fallacy of this, who don't think that mutation or natural selection explain the big picture of evolution. They'll say, well, it can explain small things, like the changes in the beak shapes and size of finches, but it doesn't explain how you go from a reptile to a finch in the first place. Because yeah, you have baby steps, but you don't have those onward and upward baby steps that you need. So, like I mentioned before, with my lifetime views on my channel, every country is watching my videos. Every single country in the world. So you think of Iran, you think of China, you think of North Korea, you think of countries that are very closed up to the gospel, places where you can be killed for being a Christian. I have 2 views on my channel in North Korea. I know that's not a lot, but it's North Korea. And so I suspect that might be somebody in the royal family. I could be wrong. Who knows? But these are the views that are registering as being in North Korea. In China, I know I have a certain number of views. However, in China, a lot of times people will use a special technology to jump over the firewall, so it will actually register as coming from the United States or coming from another country. So it is kind of hard to measure what my actual views in China are, since they'll be registered as being in another country. But I have in India, I have 171,597 views. So how many ministries out there are reaching 171,000 people in India? 23,728 views in Saudi Arabia, in the heart of the Muslim world, where every Muslim in their life at some point tries to go to Mecca, make their pilgrimage. 87,998 in Japan. Like I said, in Japan they really like the God of Wonders English with English subtitles, and so what I've done a lot is I've taken my other videos and I've had people volunteer. I would love to pay them, but I just don't have the money to do that. But I've had people volunteer to take my video scripts and type them up for me and onto YouTube so that they can have the closed caption. And that's something that's really close to my heart, because the university I went to was bilingual, English and ASL. So almost every class I took had at least one deaf or hard of hearing person, and there would be an interpreter there. And while I was in university, I picked up ASL, and I do pretty well with it. My video on stickleback evolution. Now this one doesn't have as many views as the other ones. Has 1,344 views. Now that might not sound impressive, to have 1,300 views and change, but I'm assuming that every one of these views represents a particular person. And if you're talking about stickleback evolution, chances are they're taking an evolutionary biology class. So when you take when you take evolutionary biology, sticklebacks is one of the things you study. Now when I say evolutionary biology, I mean a course on evolution. So you're studying natural selection, you're studying phylogenetics, you're studying a little bit about fossils. So you're studying a lot of things, and when I took the class, it was kind of a lot of it was kind of, I have all the respect in the world for the professors, don't get me wrong, but a lot of it was kind of brainwashing, because there's this idea that, well, because you see natural selection happens, because natural selection exists, that proves that it can have these omnipotent powers, like it's all like an all-powerful genie that can do anything. And I hate to use the expression of they give natural selection godlike powers, justifiably, but scientific, but that's what they're doing, and it's really not scientifically justified. If you actually look at the data, if you actually study sticklebacks, if you actually study the long-term evolution experiment, which I talked about on this video, if you actually study how natural selection works, how mutation works, and what these things do, these grand-scale neo-Darwinian claims really don't hold water. And like I said, even evolutionary biologists are recognizing that and saying that this is not a valid mechanism for long-term evolution. And again, for those of you who aren't familiar with my channel, I'm actually a young Earth creationist. You can call me stupid all day if you want, but I have 2 science degrees from well-respected my associates is from the State University of New York, and I won't say exactly which college I went to, and my other degree, my bachelor's degree, is from a private university, and I won't say which one either because I just want to keep myself safe, and I guess if people choose to reject that, okay, but I would hope my arguments ultimately stand. I want people to know what they're talking about when I watch a video, but I would hope my arguments ultimately stand or fall on the validity of my arguments. And coming back to my notes here, stickleback evolution, like I said, 1,344 views, and that's going to be mostly people who are science majors. So if you want to support somebody who is reaching out and getting the attention of other science majors and showing them the flaws in evolutionary ideas, I mean, I'm your guy. Sorry, I'm going to mute the computer real quick. With evolutionary biology students, when they're seeing this video, they're learning the evidence for creation. They're learning about scientists who are creationists and scientists who are idea advocates. And these are scientists who are already well established. People from Cornell, Harvard, super scientists who are just well beyond, what I could ever imagine doing. Now, don't get me wrong, I've got a big imagination, so I imagine anyway, but I will be very blessed if I ever become half the scientist that a Dr. John Sanford is, or half the scientist that Jason Lyle is. So going beyond my YouTube account, because I know I haven't made videos in a while, in the last 30 days I've had 8,739 views on my Medium account. So for those of you who don't know what Medium is, I guess it's like Huffington Post, but anybody can write on there, so anybody can just have a Medium account and just start writing news articles, or articles that are news style, and talk about what you think about this, talk about what you think about that. You can write essays. I have a lot of articles on there, including one article that's actually a science fiction story. Excuse me. It's a Star Trek fan fiction. For those of you who are fans of Voyager, it takes place about 20 years after Voyager reaches the Alpha Quadrant. And I take a lot of what's on there, and I hope that I wrote this in a way that other Star Trek Voyager fans will really enjoy. And speaking of Star Trek, I've got an article on there about Star Trek and autism. Being somebody on the spectrum, I really appreciate the characters like Data and Seven of Nine. I'll say I'm not personally a huge fan of Data, but I can really appreciate what the character is and what he does, and maybe as I watch Next Generation more, I'll change my mind. But anyway, back to this. So Medium, I'm writing articles. I don't just write about Star Trek, so there's only 2 articles on there about that. One of my articles is why Bill Nye is not a scientist and why it matters. And so I explain on there that Bill Nye, he's not a scientist. He has an engineering degree, yes, but engineers and scientists, those are two different things. There can be overlap. I mean, you can have engineers who are studying the natural sciences, but and the term scientist isn't entirely hard and fast, because there's exceptions, but generally, if you are in science, somebody with a bachelor's degree, like myself, for example, wouldn't refer to themselves as a scientist, because usually that title is referred to somebody with a PhD, and that's not something you'll find hard and fast in a dictionary, for example. It's a cultural thing. So within science, there's a unique subculture where there's certain expectations, certain ways of thinking, certain ways of looking at things, and one of the cultural expectations is to earn the right to refer to yourself as a scientist is you have to actually have a PhD. Anyway, I'm going way beyond that, and anyway, I also explained that Bill Nye will get on CNN and say, well, he'll talk to an atmospheric physicist on CNN and tell the guy anyway, go read the article. you guys got to see this. But the guy's a comedian in a lab coat. So anyway, so I have a lot of articles on there. I talk about science. I talk about a little bit about politics. I talk about economics, which I really enjoy, even though I'm not an economist. Surprise, surprise. Just because you write or talk about something doesn't mean you're an expert in that field. Like I said, I'm not an expert in economics, but I read a lot of economics, and I wanted to explain some simpler concepts to people, just help make their lives better, and just because I enjoy writing. So there's a lot that I have on Medium, on my articles on there. In the past 30 days, I've gotten 8,739 views. So almost 9,000 views. And when I accessed this a few hours ago, the day isn't over yet. So it's counting today and the number of people who have viewed the articles today. So if I were to refresh that tab right now, it would give me a higher number than 8,739. In the previous 30 days, I got 11,505. So 11,500 views. So that's a lot of people looking at my content. My lifetime views, I've gotten over 45,000. I started this on the 13th of October 2017. It's now 19th of April 2018. So about 6 months ago, I started my Medium account. I've been writing For the New Christian Intellectual. If you guys have seen my videos with Cody, that's what it's for. And I think it's going well. I mean, to have this many eyeballs looking at my content, over 45,000. I mean, that's over 45,000 views. I guess you can multiply that by 2 to do technically the number of eyeballs, but there's a lot of people looking at my content, reading my articles, watching my videos, and I think this is amazing, and I really want to have other people be a part of this as well. Now, like I said, I'm not going away. So don't get me wrong, this isn't one of those begathons saying, well, if you don't support PBS, we'll go off the air. Or if you don't support, I remember when I was a kid, seeing these preachers on TV, or these chairs that looked like they were made of gold, maybe they were gold plated, and, they're like, please send us money so we can, send stuff to the children. And it's like, I gotta say, there's some great preachers on TV. Charles Stanley's one really good one. Charles Stanley, when I was growing up and I was a little, 8-year-old kid, he's the only preacher on TV that I remember listening to. I just sit down and watch him. So, I mean, if you want to support a TV preacher, support him. But, like I said, I'm not going anywhere, but doing this does get expensive. Now, I have a full-time job, but I'm just starting out. It's an entry-level job, so I have to be careful with my finances. So, I just spent, today... and this is what prompted this video, I spent $109.50 on my domain registry for the next 5 years. So having GreenSlugg.com, which is the supposed to be the centerpiece of what I do, even though my YouTube channel is much more popular than the actual website, to register the domain, that's $109.50. Now that doesn't count web hosting, which is I want to say around $8 a month, and I host not just GreenSlugg.com but also BlueSlug and a few other sites. Um, so that's I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it's a chunk of cash. I just spent $100 on professional video editing for that university discrimination video. I've also got other expenses, equipment, hosting, like I mentioned, so buying new equipment. I want to get a better background than this. Producing and editing, that's something that, costs money, and time. I mean, for me to sit down with these and actually make a video takes time. And that's so it can be easier to do these things if you have better equipment. Recently I was given this microphone, which let's see if you can see this. Probably gonna mess up the sound. So I've got this blue snowball microphone that a friend gave me for my birthday, and I want to say thank you to that friend very much. And I love you, man. You're amazing. And so I've got that, and I also purchased some software to make better videos. I've been using Windows Movie Maker, and I'm actually using that for this video right now, but I purchased some software that's higher quality, and as I play around with it, I'll get to use it more and understand it more. And all I've spent thousands of dollars since I've started GreenSlugg.com in 2010, and I've received maybe $300 from Google and YouTube in advertising. Maybe it's 400, but every once in a while Google and YouTube will, same company will send me a check for the advertising. I have a little bit of advertising on the actual website itself. I've got some of my videos are monetized. However, I am not able to monetize some videos, and I'm able to monetize others, depending on the copyright issue. Like, for example, if I'm using my Stickleback video that I mentioned earlier, I've got one or two pictures in there that are that I'm allowed to use, but I don't think I'm able to use. I'm a little fuzzy on whether I can use them for a monetized video. So there's a little bit of confusion there. But like I said, I'm able to use them for the sake of commentary and for the sake of making a video. But like I said, I'm not going away. I have no intention of going away. GreenSlugg is going to stick around. But the reason I'm asking for Patreon support is because going forward, I want to make better projects. So the project I'm working on right now, which I probably should have said from the outset, is scientific evidence for Noah's Flood. So this is going to be a third installment of the Noah's Flood, of the Noah series I've been doing. However, I think this third video is going to blow the other two away. It's going to be far better than anything I've ever done before. With the better sound quality from this microphone, with trying to find more professional music online, and doing a lot of things along those lines, better footage. I want to make this a documentary. I want this video to be on par with any documentary you see out there. I don't know if I'll be able to pull that off, to be totally honest about it, but I mean, hey, I have done pretty good so far, and I think that if not this video, then another video later on down the road will have that same production quality. Now, like I said, production quality, hoping it'll be up there. The script, however, the content is absolutely amazing. I'm going through and talking about scientific evidence for Noah's Flood, and not just from the angle of geology, but also from some other angles as well. And I don't want to spoil it, so I'm just gonna kind of let that hang in the air. But I am personally really happy with the script. I'm really happy with how it's come along. I've had a lot of people help me edit it. So even though I haven't made very many videos over the past year or so, I really think this video is going to make up for it, because I've been working on the script for like a year and a half. I've been doing a lot of editing, a lot of going back and forth, a lot of just trying to make it good. And I think it's going to come out, and I think it's really going to be something else. And hopefully, once I do get it uploaded, I'll be able to monetize that and be able to bring in some more money for this ministry, for more editing, etc. So like I said, no intention of going away, but I would like to do more. I'd like to make more content. I'd like it to always be available for free, and I want to make better quality content. So with always being available for free, with Patreon, a lot of times people will have it where, okay, you can get this exclusive content through supporting this person on Patreon, and so you end up having this club of special people that get to be part of something. And when I will say I actually support for the New Christian Intellectual, just not a ton, but I support them, and so I'm able to get into their group chats and ask them questions, and they've really changed my way of thinking as a Christian. So I mean, if you think I'm a jerk and you want to support somebody else on Patreon, go support them. But if you like what I do, then and you want this content to be available for free, you want to be able to just send that YouTube link to your friends and relatives, I'm the guy for you. Now, I will say my fictional content, like short stories that I'll write, because I'm also writing science fiction, that's going to be something to pay for. That's going to be something that I am going to, require a couple bucks for, because that's separate from GreenSlugg, and I think that if somebody really wants to read one of my science fiction stories, they'll pay the $1 or $2 or $3 or whatever. But hey, if you don't want to support me through Patreon, go buy the short story I have up there so far, and buy the other short stories and books and stuff as they come out. But yeah, so like I said, I want this stuff to always be free, so that people can always have access to it, and so that when I'm done on this earth, if YouTube still exists, you'll still be able to have people who come after me being able to see this content and being able to hear the gospel, and hear the evidence for the Christian faith. So some of the stuff I want to get for making better quality content is I want to get I want to get some software for monthly interviews. So my thought is there's a particular software that Cody for the New Christian Intellectual actually introduced me to. With that, you can do these basically Skype type calls, but the quality is so much better, and this particular software can automatically record everything for you. So this software exists for the purpose of recording. So I can take my phone and just chat back and forth with somebody, or do it right here on the computer, and that's something that I would like to have. I think it's I want to say it's like $13 a month for that software, but I could be wrong. And like I said, that's not a lot. That's not a ton of money. It's just that right now, I am working full time, 12 an hour entry level job. I'm not complaining, because I am able to live here with mom and dad, and mom and dad are letting me use the car, and not charging me a ton of rent. But it is still tough when you have school loans and stuff like that. So I'm able to keep this baseline for the ministry, just web hosting and keeping things existing. And keeping things surviving. That's something I can do just fine, but with tightening my belt somewhat, cue the fat jokes, but that's okay. Going forward, I don't want to just survive, I want to thrive. I want this channel to be amazing. Like I said, software for interviews. I also want to bring in music, to use in those documentary style videos. So I want to not just use free music, though I would love some of that as well, like you saw in my unicorns video. Yes, for those of you who aren't familiar, I have a video called Unicorns and Science, and I'm dead serious. It's meant to be kind of a shocking title, but go check it out. I think it talks a lot about science and scientific philosophy, and how do you know that something exists versus doesn't exist. But anyway, there was some okay music on there, but I really want to do better. I really want to have grade A quality music, and I really want to give God the best. I really hate it when I turn on the TV and you have these people with these ministries of millions of dollars, and they're still producing poor quality content. or they'll bring in people and make these documentaries that use bad arguments, and I really want to be better than that. I really want the content to be amazing, and I also want the quality of production to be amazing. So like I said, I want to get music. I want to get some good quality logos for GreenSlugg. Opening logos. To tell people, hey, this is somebody who actually cares about his content, rather than just another guy on YouTube. I want to get better. I want to do better producing and editing. So I've kind of talked about that. And I want to get a better background. So this thing right here, as you can see, it looks probably kind of curtainy, but and I got it a little wrinkled. I really want to iron this thing out better. But I haven't really used it much this year because I have it hanging on a pole and it kind of falls down. I've got this white line here which I want to cover up. I would really like it if I didn't have to jerry-rig this thing and I could just have a decent background, just put my camera in front of that background and just go. After I've done my research and I know what I'm talking about and I've practiced once or twice. So also one big issue with this is money versus time. The problem I had before, after college while I was looking for work, is there were times where I had lots of time but no money because I was trying to find work, and I made a few YouTube videos and a little bit of content here and there, but I didn't see it as appropriate to be living off mom and dad while blogging and vlogging. So I focused a lot of that time on actually just getting a job so that I could have enough money to eat and pay rent and pay bills and things like that. But now that I have work, I don't have a lot of time, and usually when I come home I'm quite exhausted. So with having a little bit of money donated to GreenSlugg, it'll mean that I can get better tools to save time while I'm producing content. So like I talked about with I guess the music's a good example. It can take a long time, scouring the internet, trying to find quality free music, when 9 out of 10 free songs you don't even want to listen to, let alone use for your video. Whereas there's some amazing, wonderful, beautiful songs out there that are phenomenal, and I would love to use them and make better quality videos. So there's that money versus time issue. There's having better editing software and not going back and forth between different programs or stuff like that. That can be a big deal. And so having a little bit of money can make it where the time will be a lot easier. Also, I talked about how I actually hired people for the university discrimination video. I had friends that offered, that did some volunteer work. So the people who filmed the video, they did that voluntarily, and they were going to do all the editing for me, but it just the project became much larger than what we had expected. So there was another friend in that network who very graciously edited that video for $100. And right now I have him editing another video for me for $80. And so this, I just want to let you guys know, I'm not just asking for money so I can put it in my pocket and go play arcade stuff. I've spent I've spent quite a bit of money doing this. In all, I've probably spent a few $1,000s over the years doing this, but that's that's if you include like the laptops, because what am I going to do, not have a laptop? So I did spend extra money in part to have good graphics card for the editing software, but I also like to game, so I don't know if I would have just done it anyway. So I guess that's kind of my confession there, that I have a life outside of I guess I'm going to be expected to have a life outside of YouTube. So I'm sure you guys will understand that. And I'm sorry, I'm like half awake right now. It's 10:30. It's like an hour and a half past my bedtime. So what I'm asking for is for my fans to pray about giving me $1 per month on Patreon. Now I know you've watched through a lot of this, and $1 per month might not sound like a lot. My goal in total, like if everybody were giving me $1 a month, I could easily get to the goal of $100 per month. I already have somebody giving me $4 per month, and so that's another wonderful friend. And thank you very much. It's a different friend than the one who bought me my microphone, but it means a lot to have people personally supporting me. And so say that I'm only able to get 2 or 3 people to give me $1 per month, and that's all they can do. I'm okay with that. If that happens, that might not pay the bills, it might not keep the lights on, but it gives me that emotional support. It says that there's somebody who believes in me doing this. And as that grows, that'll help to say, hey, now you have 20 people giving you $1 a month, or now you have 50 people giving you $1 a month, or now 100 people, or maybe somebody's more generous and they want to give $5 per month or $10 per month. Now, for those of you who really want to see, a lot of you out there want to see the gospel spread, and you're willing to give money to make that happen. I don't want to take money away from your local church. I don't want to take money away from another ministry that you feel very passionate about. And I also don't want people to feel like they're obligated. And when I say pray about it, I mean it. Now, if you're praying about it and you have this worried, anxious feeling, and you think that's God talking to you, God doesn't give us a spirit of fear. And I don't think that anxiety and worry are from God either. Now, maybe there could be times where there's exceptions to that, where God might give you an anxiety that you need to call home, and there's something wrong going on. Like God once told my mom to go back to the babysitters to get me, and she was right. There was an issue that I would love to talk about sometime, but anyway, bottom line, don't feel like you have to give to me. If you want to support this ministry, if you want to support GreenSlugg is doing, I would be very grateful. I would be very grateful for people to support me on Patreon. I don't know what I know with Patreon, like sometimes it's expected that, okay, if you give above a certain amount, that people will you'll get something special. I honestly don't know what I can give. I would be very open to Skyping with people who are giving, say, $20 a month, and maybe I'm doing an hour chat with people, private chat with people who are giving $20 a month. And obviously when I say private chat, I mean with a group of people, so many people. Sorry, the internet is what it is, so I just feel like sometimes I gotta point out my own. Sometimes I feel like I gotta beat the trolls to it. I would love to sit down on my couch in the living room and Skype with people all over the world who just want to ask questions like, how did dinosaurs fit on Noah's Ark? Even if I already have a video about that, I would love to sit down and chat with people one-on-one and really know where people are coming from, really learn about people more. I think that would give me a great deal of pleasure, and I would love that. And like I said, I would want to keep it appropriate. I won't Skype with a woman one-on-one if there's nobody else around, because I don't, all the accusations these days, I don't want to get into all that, but wow, yeah, I must be way tired. If you want to support what I do, even with me tripping over my own tongue left and right, then definitely consider supporting me on Patreon. And I guess I kind of want to leave you guys with the Bible verse, but I didn't really plan on one. But one thing I can say is, it says in the Bible, he who gives to the poor lends to the Lord. And I'll say my own personal tithing has not been what it should lately. I really wish it were better. But at the same time, I really want to give my time and a lot of effort to do this. I mean, I could be out there, getting a second job, making money, doing side business stuff, and maybe I'll start doing that, so that I can support myself. But if you guys are willing, I would be very grateful if anybody could, give me a little bit of money just to say, hey, we really appreciate what you're doing and we want to see more. I have no intention of pocketing that money. I might use it to help pay for some of the bills for different equipment and programs and things like that. But if I am able to reach the goal of $100 per month, I do plan on trying to get a second bank account. That way that money is separate from my own money, and that way there would be basically no temptation to use it improperly, because it'll be in a second bank account and I can't make excuses or anything. And I'm somebody who's always operated with integrity. With at least I'm definitely not perfect. I'm somebody who has sinned and I need grace like anybody else, but yeah. So like I said, I'm asking for $1 per month. If you're able to give it and you want to give it, feel free to do so. Don't feel obligated to do so. If you feel obligated to do so, pray about it. But I'd say don't do it out of obligation. Only give me that money if you feel like it would be a joy for you to give that money to God. And in giving it to God, giving it to my ministry to help bless this and make it work. I'm not getting rich off this. If anything, I'm partly shooting myself in the foot with wanting to have a scientific career and getting on the internet and saying, hey guys, I'm a creationist and I think that dinosaurs and humans live together. Yeah, so pray about supporting me. Pray for me personally. I am going to stop this video now and go to bed so that I can go to work tomorrow. I thank you for everything, guys. This is Greg, out.